to get started here. So first of all, thanks for showing up on time, everyone. I appreciate that. Thank you for our Facebook friends that are out there as well. So if you don't know who I am, my name is Dr. Dave Boynton. I'm a chiropractor, and so is Dr. Luke Howell. And tonight we're talking about the functional medicine approach to detoxification, as that is my specialty as a functional medicine chiropractor. So these are some things that we're going to cover today. So this is what you're going to learn, hopefully. So what does chiropractic care and detoxification have to do with each other? How does the body detox? The world of toxins, unless you've lived under a rock for the past 10 years or 20 years, you would realize the world's a more toxic place than it ever has before, and it's getting worse. Do you need to detox? The kinds of detoxing there is to do, what tests we can do, how to detox, and if all this sounds like it makes sense to you, kind of what's the next plan? Can you detox right away? Should you not? Should you wait? Should we run labs? Do we need to wait? So those are all the things we'll talk about for like the next steps. So Dr. Luke's going to take over, talking about the detoxification associated with chiropractic care, and I'm going to finish it up with all the functional medicine stuff and testing. Okay? Doc?
All right, I get the fun part. So I'm just going to kind of cover how we can use physical stuff, different aspects, to really help aid in the detox and just help that process. So the first thing is, for those who haven't been adjusted or wondering what adjustments do, we use our hands and instruments to move bones, help relax muscles, and just help overall body function. So the one main thing with detox I can help with is stuff can get stuck in tissues. Your tight muscles, tension, don't allow it to move and get processed over in blood vessels and all that. So a lot of times what happens after like first adjustments, people kind of feel soreness after, and that's just because toxins are moving around the blood system. I know my mom, her first adjustment, it wasn't by me, she had like a fever for a day afterwards. Usually not a typical reaction, but it can happen just because you're getting stuff moving again. So that's like the basics of chiropractic, getting stuff moving. And piggyback on that, we can also specifically look at sinus pressures, looking at different acupressure points to work with the lymph systems, and just overall relaxing the body, getting in a more parasympathetic state, just to calm down, making sure the body's able to kind of focus on more than just stress. Everyone lives in a sympathetic state. You're really tight, you're stressed, work, kind of in that fight or flight response. The more we can get you in a parasympathetic state, then you can worry about stuff like detoxing, stuff that, if you're trying to run from a bear, you're not worrying about the toxin in your body. If you're relaxed, resting, you can worry about the toxins in your body. So these are kind of different light force stuff we can do, putting pressure with the sinuses, lymph nodes, and kind of overall parasympathetic. Now, one of the other more physical ways you can detox is through the lungs. So, huge part of getting kind of stuff out of the body is just through your airway. Now, chiropractic, where that can play a role is if you have a rib out, if you have your mid-back really tight, not moving well, if you're only getting half of your movement of your lungs just because you're so tight, a rib is out or something, you get pain with deep breaths, obviously you're not going to be expelling as much of that toxins out. So, quick motion of, if your thoracic's moving better, your ribs are moving better, you get better function of getting that stuff out. So that's just another benefit chiropractic care can have. And then kind of piggyback on the lower side of that, looking at the diaphragm itself, which sits down, that's what goes down so your airways can open up. Your hip flexors come up from your hips all the way up to that mid-back area, especially psoas, and that can play a role with the diaphragm. So if your psoas is tight, then that can affect your diaphragm, can affect your breathing. There's a lot of new research looking into breathing and all the different aspects of it, especially with our sedentary driving, sedentary sitting, sitting at home. We sit so much, hip flexors get tight, tightened your breathing, diaphragm gets messed up. So that's kind of that cascade aspect that can happen, and the more we can relax those hip flexors can play a role as well. And just to even go more back into looking at detoxes and organs, your liver sits right underneath your diaphragm. The more we can get kind of that lower aspect moving, we can do specific moves for liver, looking at adhesions, loosening that area up to help your breathing as well. So those are kind of the ways you can look at it, not just the rib cage, but also underneath the rib cage to allow your diaphragm and lungs to function better. Now, all that stuff I covered looking at mobility and keeping everything moving. So I've created, you can see these videos over here on our YouTube channel. If you don't subscribe, you guys can subscribe there. That covers different mobility stuff of getting different parts of the body moving. So I use it a lot chiropractic wise of, all right, your mid back's tight, it's not moving well, we adjust it, it moves well, but instead of just going back to your normal life, doing these type of exercises, getting it moving better in between the adjustments allows that motion stuff we just talked about to be beneficial. So, free access there, exercise, stretches, there's a whole another list of different areas. So if there's a certain area that's tight on you, you can use that more for pain relief, but also looking back to that kind of motion stuff we talked about, how that can help detox. So that is a resource that we do have as well. And I think finally, overall, just looking kind of grand scheme of chiropractic care, how it can help with detox is just overall getting the body to function and less pain. If you're in pain, you're not going to be thinking about detox. You're just going to be worried about getting out of pain. If you're in pain, you can't do the activities, do the different things that can also benefit in a physical way with detox. So overall, summation of chiropractic care is not only getting the stuff moving inside internally, getting the lungs, everything else working better, but overall just being able to move, function, and deal with kind of the other things of your body instead of just being able, how do I get up and how do I move?
I need to get adjusted now. All right. So chiropractic care started back in 1895 with B.J. Palmer, and even back then in 1905, he said the three causes of subluxation. So subluxation, when the joints are out of place, is thoughts, traumas, and toxins. So even back then, he knew that toxins were a part of the world. Here we are more than 100 years later, and it's way worse than he could ever imagine, and it's going to get worse than we even know today. So as I was preparing these slides for you, I'm just like, I was pissed off. I'm like, are you kidding me? There's that many toxins used. There's that many things that the FDA says is okay. There's that many things that have never been studied and cleared to be around humans, yet it's okay. The EPA says it's okay for us. I'm like, that's horrible. That's why we're the sickest, fattest country in the world, because we're the most toxic country in the world. So these are some of the main ways that our body does detoxify. You poop it out, you pee it out, you sweat it out, you breathe it out. So COVID masks, you can't detox through your lungs. So masks are horrible for people. Sometimes are masks appropriate? Absolutely. But just to wear them in your car when you're by yourself, doesn't make sense to me. So the main, and you probably know this, the main organ that detoxifies the most is your liver. So there's two different phases of liver detox. Phase 1 and phase 2, they both do different things. So phase 1 uses an enzyme called cytochrome P450. So that kind of, as the blood goes into the portal vein, into the liver, that's gonna, your body's gonna release cytochrome P450. It's gonna grab onto toxins, neutralize them, and turn them into, and it's gonna help convert them into more of a fat-soluble molecule. And all these nutrients right here are required. So your B vitamins, most of your B vitamins, glutathione, amino acids, and phosphatidylserine. Phase 2 liver detox, that's actually how your liver is going to get it out. So the liver does not store toxins. I think people think that, but your liver does not store toxins. Your kidneys do not store toxins. They filter them and then get them out. Phase 2, that conjugates, that gathers the molecules that the liver has turned into fat-soluble molecules and then turns them into water-soluble molecules to excrete out through the kidneys, which would be urine, and through your gut, which would be pooping it out. So, and what's good about that is a lot of these nutrients, taking a basic multivitamin will work on phase 1, and then eating food really works on phase 2. So there are certain foods that you can consume on a daily basis just to upregulate detoxification. Things that make your pee sink, because things that have sulfur in it helps your body make glutathione. Glutathione is the master antioxidant. So your green leafy vegetables, asparagus, broccoli, things like that. And one thing about this is that you do this automatically. Everybody does, from babies to old people. Your body does this automatically. The problem is that our bodies are exposed to way more toxins on a daily basis than you and I can even imagine. And it's just overwhelmingly bombarded by toxins literally 24/7. There is no place on earth that does not have toxins. They've found glyphosate, which is Roundup, on Mount Everest, so many miles high. They found Roundup in Antarctica, miles deep in the ice. It's in the clouds. It's in our homes. It's in this room right now. So we all are breathing contaminated air, and it's just getting worse. If you have a foam mattress, it's outgassing. If you have carpet, it's outgassing. If you have tile floors, it's outgassing. If you paint your house, that's outgassing too. So these things are just never going away. And there are chemicals that once they're created, will never go away. They're forever chemicals. And those are bad too. And they're making more and more of them that cannot be broken down. So this is the basic mechanism of how the liver works. The second most important detoxification is the kidneys. And the kidneys, obviously, you're going to urinate out toxins through that. So the blood goes into the kidneys. It filters with your glomeruli. It's a fun word to say. And those are the little filters in there. The glomeruli are the filters. It sends into tubules. The toxins go out through the ureter, through your urine, and then fresh filtered blood goes back into your body. The body can filter all the blood. Your kidneys can filter all the blood in your entire body in about an hour. I think that's pretty cool. Most of us have about 8 liters of blood, so it can filter that and clean it very effectively, which is great. The GI tract also detoxes as well. Most things we consume have toxins in them, but oftentimes those toxins are too large to be absorbed through the GI tract into the bloodstream. There's heavy metals in most of our food, but most of us don't have heavy metal toxicity, some of us do. And when you have leaky gut, which is membrane hyperplasia of the GI tract, these heavy metals can get through, but most of us don't have that. So we're actually gonna poop out a lot of these heavy metals, but they can be absorbed. So the body has different defenses. So the GI tract is actually gonna produce enzymes to neutralize these heavy metals, toxins, glyphosate, Roundup, all the things we're gonna talk about later. And most of these molecules, again, are too big to be absorbed. They're too particle sizes are too large. And then your lungs detox. So you breathe in air that's contaminated with something not good for you. That air then goes into your alveoli, gets into your bloodstream. The end result of deoxygenated blood is carbon dioxide, which you then breathe out. And when you do breathe in debris, whether it be dust or plastic or whatever it's from, the body then produces mucus, because the mucus then coats the foreign substance that causes the vagus nerve to create a cough reflex, and you cough out these toxins. Most of us have plastic in our lungs. Isn't that special? From plastic dust that's everywhere. We'll talk a little bit about that later today. And your skin. So if you look online, the first thing that pops up is, it is not possible to detox the skin. So, well, this article says that you can detox the skin and your body sweats out toxins. And so does that one. Heavy metal comes out through your skin too. So sweating is important. If you cannot sweat, you cannot detox well. One of the best ways to detox is sitting in a far infrared sauna, because it actually pushes out chemicals through your skin. I had a gentleman years ago that was in our sauna, and he had fibromyalgia, and he was a Chemlon guy. So he sprayed Chemlon every single day, which is safe. No. And he developed fibromyalgia, so he had to retire because he was disabled. So we put him on so once we got him well enough to detox, because he wasn't originally, once we got him well enough to detox, he told me that once we got phase 1 and phase 2 working better, and his gut working better, he's like, every time I took a shower, there was an oil slick on the bottom of my shower, because he was just pushing these chemicals out, the fat soluble chemicals out through his skin. And now he works and is fine and normal, I guess. But yeah, it was crazy. He's like, it's like oil on water. He's like, that's what's in. And as he got better and better, that stopped. So we had to get this huge body burn him out. So the skin does detox, and you can detox through your skin. We have a toxic world: toxic air, toxic food, toxic water, toxic products, clothes, furniture, buildings, cars, medications, and it's getting worse. And I think everyone would probably agree with that. Especially in third world countries that don't have sanitation like we do here. You see these commercials with so much debris washed up on the banks of rivers and oceans. They don't have Rumpke. They don't have garbage men that pick up trash. You buy a product, a single-use product, which means it's a processed food in a wrapper. You open it up, you eat it, you drop it, you move on. That's how their culture is. They don't have public sanitation at all. So all that trash has to go somewhere, and it blows it into the water, it blows it into the forests. And if it's in the water stream, it's eventually going to get broken down, then it goes up into the clouds. And the clouds come over here and rain on us. Awesome. So this is what the World Health Organization says are the top 10 chemicals that we all have in us. Babies are born with 254 chemicals in their body before they take a single breath. It's in their umbilical cord blood. So my little 6-month-old grandson has probably 300 chemicals in his body now because he's been alive for 6 months. Because the carpet in our living room is outgassing VOCs, because the paint on the walls, because of the stuff in the baby food and the plastic bottles and all the things. So it's unavoidable. So making sure you keep up on a detox regimen of sweating, breathing, pooping, peeing on a regular basis, eating healthy food is so important. So these are all things we have in us. Obviously, we all have heavy metals to a certain degree. Some of us have more. And if you have altered detox pathways due to genetics, you're going to have even more of an abundance. These are your chronically ill people that have altered detox pathways. Because there's a detox pathway we talked about before, cytochrome P450. So if you have MTHFR mutation, MMR, MTRR, COMT, these are random letters, but they're all genetic codes. Your body can't make cytochrome P450 enzyme, which means you don't do phase well 1, which means you have all these fat-soluble chemicals built up in your body. Where does your body put fat-soluble chemicals? In your body fat. So when you can't lose weight, it's because your fat is sick. Your fat is toxic because your body's going to take those toxins and not allow them to be in circulation. It's going to stick them in body fat. Where's your body fat? Around your belly and in your brain. Your brain's made of fat and cholesterol. Alzheimer's getting better or worse? Dementia getting better or worse? Worse. Because we're toxic. And because we have high blood sugar, because most people eat garbage food. So that inflames your brain even more. Plastics. Do you guys know that we have plastic in us? Is that a common thing that you all know that? If you don't, we do. Sad fact. So kind of how's plastic made? So it's made from petroleum, which is obviously mined out of the earth. It then goes to the plastic manufacturers, which produce a ton of exhaust and harmful things. We buy the products, we consume it, we throw it in the trash can and hopefully recycle it, but most of the world does not. That's why it gets dumped or burned. It may or may not be recycled, and then that system repeats itself. That's how it works. So these are the microplastics that I'm talking about. So that's somebody's fingerprint. So that's obviously a pretty small surface area, and all of these tiny little plastic BBs looking things, that's what's in your dust in your house. That's what's in the dust here. That's what's in the dust outside. It just blows around. And we inhale these little tiny plastic particles. We consume them in our food. They're just, I don't know that you can avoid it unless you live in a bubble. That's why it's important you have an air filter in your house to capture some of this stuff too. So having air filters in your homes are important. So the Center for International Environmental Law, single-use plastics negatively impact human health. So that's not a secret. So we all know that. So a lot of these things are found in fire retardant things in our clothes, phthalates, nonstick chemicals, PFAS chemicals, heat retardants, BPA, BPB, xylene, formaldehyde, PVC, lots of things. So common symptoms associated with plastic toxicity: asthma, reproductive malformations, developmental delays in children, endocrine disruption, so that's your estrogen, that's your hormone-driven cancers, hormone changes, infertility, immune suppression, autoimmunity, chronic fatigue, obesity, weight loss resistance, and more. So those are symptoms that lots of people have that they're not thinking, I might have too much plastic in me. They're not thinking that. They're thinking, I'm going through menopause. They're thinking, it's common, it's normal to have all these things, but it's really not. So the next 5 or 6 slides kind of breaks down these plastics. So there's different little recycling symbols, that those are like the hardnesses of the different plastics. So that's basically polyethylenes and all these things. Those are the properties, toxic health risk factors. So antimony actually leaks out of these products into the food and drinks that we're consuming. So we've all probably had soda bottles, water bottles, beer bottles, salad dressing, peanut butter. Those are probably all in our house right now, maybe. These things outgas, and we breathe them in a hot car. So we're all around those things. High density polyethylenes. So most of us probably have most or all of these things here. And these are endocrine disruptors. These impact your hormones. These cause estrogen dominant cancers. Polyvinyls. That's what this floor's made of. Sorry, I'm poisoning you guys. Plumbing pipes. We all have plumbing in our house. The hot water runs through plastic pipes. Plastic comes off pipes. So floor coverings, carpet, just all the things. These are hormonal disruptors, asthma, allergies, and autism. In everywhere. Tile floors in supermarkets, things like that. Plastic wraps, sandwich bags, squeezable bottles, plastic grocery bags, bubble gum wrappers. These chemicals can disrupt hormones and potentially alter the structure of human cells. That sounds like cancer to me. It mimics estrogen. So your body fat produces estrogen. If you have too much of it, if you have toxins in your body, this is what drives estrogen-dominant cancers. Breast, ovarian, uterine, vaginal cancer. Men, prostate cancer, breast cancer. All these plastics. So how many people go to Starbucks or get hot coffee? I don't, because I don't drink coffee. But those plastic lids, the plastic is in you when you drink. So you can go there, take off the lid, or go out your car and pour it in a stainless steel cup. That's the best solution. But if you're gonna get it, take off the lid, drink it, put the lid back on. Don't drink it through the lid. That soft plastic is in your body. A lot of it is. More awesome news. More hormone disruption. More stuff that we have. Potato chips, drinking straws, yogurt containers, ketchup, and syrup bottles. All the things we have in our house. Car parts. When you open your car when it's really hot, you smell that plastic, it's melting plastic. So what do? You immediately jump in your car and breathe in melting plastic. Open up your door, let all of the funkiness get out, outgas your car, and then get in. Polystyrene. This one cracks me up. So, disposable foam cups, right? We've all either drank from them or used them before. Where did it say? So polystyrene is commonly known as styrofoam, is considered a highly toxic form of plastic. It leaches into toxins, including styrene, which causes cancer, damages the nervous system. Heat plays a role in the amount of styrene that is leached, so it is not advised to use plastics to hold hot cups or hot food or drinks. The first thing we use it for is for hot stuff. It says we shouldn't use it for hot stuff. Come on. It says don't use it, but that's the very first thing that we use it for. Now, can you drink cold water off a styrofoam cup? Probably. Just don't get styrofoam. Don't put hot food into a styrofoam container. And all the restaurants are putting like wax paper down or foil. Bad in a different way, but it's not styrofoam. And there's other bad things that are found in baby bottles, sippy cups, all the things our children use. Guess what they are? Hormone disruptors, developmental growth delays, obesity, sexual function, reproductive, brain neurologic, bad things that our kids, our babies have and use. It just pisses you off. The government knows these things, the manufacturer knows these things, but if they keep us sick, they make more money. Unfortunately, my opinion, sorry. Heavy metals, more bad news. Heavy metals are in all of us. The older you are, the more you have. Just fact. And heavy metals are stored in different parts of our body. So anybody know what AS is? Arsenic, cadmium, lead, copper, mercury, and chromium. That's where it's stored in your body. A lot of women have osteoporosis because they have heavy metal in their bones. we detox sometimes old ladies' bones and they get really brittle because it displaces the calcium from their bones. So we have to be careful when we detox older people because we can break their bones, because what's in their bones is metal. We pull it out, now they have voids in their bones. Never thought about that one, did you? And then we have to fill them up with good stuff. So heavy metal is just on the earth. It's what it is. Parasites, we all have them too, because they're in the ground, they're on our food. So the most common portals of entry are from water, soil, and the air. We're gonna eat them, they're gonna go through our skin, or we're gonna breathe them in. So that's gonna be in food, water, cosmetics, especially cosmetics that are made in foreign countries have a lot of lead in them. And a lot of the colored things are also made from heavy metals. Auto exhaust has lead in it. That's why we have unleaded gas now. Diesel is not unleaded. And dust. So if you have some of these are common symptoms of heavy metal toxicity: diarrhea, nauseousness, abdominal pain, vomiting, tingling in your extremity, shortness of breath, and weakness. Or maybe fibromyalgia, maybe leaky gut. Maybe those are the two diagnoses we give people who have those problems. You just got fibromyalgia, or you have heavy metal toxicity. Chronic fatigue syndrome, or heavy metal toxicity. Infertility, or heavy metal toxicity. Or plastic toxicity. These are common things that are found in our bodies, all of us, because they're everywhere, and there's more and more being made every day. I'm not going to read all these slides to you, but these are I think 5 or 6 most common harmful things. Styrene, we already talked about the styrofoam. So it's in most things. Xylene, this is going to be in your gasoline. If you smell gasoline, you have gasoline in your body. Every time you go up to the pump and pump gas, you're exposing yourself to gasoline. So don't let your kids get gas for you. Get in your car or turn on your gas. And sometimes you see people like pumping their gas here, they walk over here so they can't smell it. Because if you smell gasoline, it's in your body. If you smell a chemical, it's in your body. Chloroform or chlorine, probable carcinogen. So people that are on the swim team that swim in pools for hours and hours are breathing it in. It's being absorbed through their skin. It's displacing the iodine in their thyroid and their breast tissue. So don't be a swimmer. If you are, you need to really detox a lot, like every day that you swim. So does it mean you can never go into a pool? No, go into a swimming pool. Just don't be in a lot. We have a swimming pool. It's a saltwater swimming pool. There's still chlorine in it, but there's a lot less than your regular chlorine swimming pools. So these public pools that you can smell the chlorine, you want to try to not have your kids be in the water, drink the water, things like that. Benzene, this is what's going to outgas from a lot of plastics and things like that. So this is what's going to be released from your car. When plastics get hot, it kind of releases a lot of benzene. So cardiovascular, respiratory, reproductive, immune, it wrecks everything in your body. Then detergents, lubricants, dyes, pesticides, rubber, synthetic fibers, resin, nylon, aluminum. It's in drugs. It's actually in medicine and plastics. Crazy. Creates all this stuff you're going to breathe in. This is from big manufacturing things that create smoke and exhaust. So burning wood, burning trash, things like that. This is a lot of this. You see that in third world countries. Glyphosate, good old Roundup. So you all know glyphosate, Roundup, Monsanto, the evil empire. So now Bayer is the evil empire because Bayer bought glyphosate. Bayer bought Roundup. So now Bayer is the evil empire. They're the world's largest chemical company. And even though Roundup doesn't cause cancer, they've paid hundreds of billions of dollars to the people they didn't cause cancer in? Really? Huh. So this is what the EPA says. It's fine. That's what the Center for Disease Control says. Probable carcinogen to humans. So EPA protects us, thanks government, says it's fine. You can use it all you want to. The Center for Disease Control says something very different. And Frontiers is a research publication, and it causes acute toxicity in people. It causes neurological symptoms. EPA says it's fine though. These countries do not allow glyphosate in their country. Either are we dumb? Are they smarter than us? Or is it about money? unfortunately, probably. So maybe you might want to go live there or not, I don't know. But they care more, maybe they care more about their people than money, I don't really know, but these guys know something we don't know. This is the premise of why the creators of glyphosate say that it's safe, because of this shikimate pathway, I'm sorry. So we do not have a shikimate pathway, true. We do not. However, the bugs in our guts do. They don't take that into consideration, that we actually have organisms living inside of us who do have a shikimate pathway. So this disrupts our ability to absorb neurotransmitters, and it also causes leaky gut. Phenylalanine, tyrosine, and tryptophan. Those are all precursors to neurotransmitters. Neurotransmitters are your brain chemistry, which is manufactured in the GI tract, stored in the gut lining, and used in your brain. Depression, anxiety, and obesity getting worse every day because we all have Roundup in us every day. It's in Antarctica, it's in the Himalayan mountains. People who've never seen the chemical before, it's poisoning them too. Thanks, Monsanto. And that's the shikimate pathway right there. You can see how tryptophan makes serotonin, tyrosine makes dopamine. That's your happy neurotransmitter. That's your motivation neurotransmitter. Phenylalanine helps you regulate sympathetic, parasympathetic. That's your stress response mechanism. Can people not handle stress anymore? Yes. Why? So we all have Roundup in us to a lesser degree. And that's what it looks like. That's a bad guy with bad chemical. GMO food, genetically modified organism. Probably heard of this too, I would guess. Y'all are here so you know about healthy things. So just a few things that are GMO. So cotton, so the clothes we wear, awesome. Soybean, which is soybean oil is the cheapest form of oil, and canola oil is the second cheapest form of oil. Potatoes, sugar beets. So we're getting sugar beets. We're healthier. Nope, it's genetically modified. Eggplant, strawberries, corn, summer squash, tomatoes, apples, pink lady, like the apples that didn't exist 20 years ago, all genetically modified. Pink pineapples, cantaloupe, carrots, grapes. Cotton candy grapes, really? Cotton candy? They're good, but like that doesn't grow. That's not from God. That's from us. We made that. They're really good. But yeah, bad for you. So what is GMO? So they actually alter the seed, and inside the seed are chemicals that block herbicides and pesticides from killing it. So we can take a strawberry plant, we can pour Roundup on it to kill all the weeds around it, but the strawberries are not harmed. The strawberries just simply absorb it, and then we eat it. But it's safe for us because we don't have a shikimate pathway, but it destroys our gut and destroys our neurotransmitters, which destroys our brain. Gigantic strawberries the size of your hand. Strawberries aren't that big. They're really only about that big. But the ones in the store are like gigantic. Like that's not normal. God didn't make those strawberries. And when we eat animals, which I'm a fan of, but the problem is that most of the commercially raised animals are fed GMO corn and GMO soy. So when you're eating an animal or an animal byproduct like an egg, it's not the animal, what did the animal or byproduct eat? So if you're eating commercially raised cattle that are fed corn and soy and all kinds of things that make them fat, which is why we're fat too, because we eat corn and soy all the time, and hormones, that meat now has Roundup in it because it ate what had Roundup in it. And then we get Roundup in us. Yay. And the circle is complete. Circle of death, not circle of life. Hybridized food. I think that picture is awesome. Got the watermelon with got the pineapple with the watermelon, got the banana with the orange in it. This is just chemical guys playing with genes of plants. Now, plants do naturally hybridize themselves. That's a fact. It's actually pretty cool. So the pollen from this plant over here pollinates a different plant over here, they do that. It takes hundreds of years to do this. So that is a real thing, but we can do it in laboratories in months. And these are a list of a lot of hybridized foods. So these were things that would not necessarily live in nature. Wheat. Wheat's not necessarily GMO, it's hybridized. Why do we hybridize wheat? To get more gluten out of it. So let's say 100 years ago, before this existed, this started back in 1974, we could take this room and we would get, I don't know, 2 bushels. I don't know how to measure square footage in bushels, but let's say we get 2 bushels out of this room if we plant wheat in it. Now, we get 10 from the same amount of square footage. Our bodies have no idea what to do with hybridized wheat. So in a lot of the research, they'll call it new gluten, because new gluten has only existed for about 30 years. All of you are older than 30, I'm guessing. If you remembered when you were in school, how many autistic kids were there? How many special needs kids were there? How many kids had allergies? 1, 2 in the school? There was a couple handicapped kids, maybe? Now half the schools have allergies. The special needs kids are, unfortunately, there's not less of them, there's more of them. It's because we're eating this crap and we're feeding it to our kids. Now, if any of you have been to Europe and you're very gluten intolerant here, we're not talking about celiac disease, that's a disease, that's a genetic thing. We're talking about gluten sensitivity. Some people cannot have gluten, it just crushes them. They feel horrible, GI tract, joint pain, brain fog, all kinds of things. But they can go to Europe and eat bread and pizza and pasta all day long. Why? 2 bushels of wheat has 5% gluten. Our wheat has 80% gluten in it. Our body has no idea what to do with this assault. But guess what? We make more money, so it's okay.
How do you feel about ancient grains like high corn?
That only has 5% gluten in it.
Right.
Better option. Some people can't tolerate that, but if you're going to have it, that's the kind you'd want to have. And you can even use that and make sourdough, which means you have
That's
even less.
I've done in the past.
Yeah.
But
Better option.
it's hard to do
Yeah.
because it doesn't absorb
Right.
the fat as much as.
As well, right?
Right.
That's how bread used to be.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So yeah. What do you think?
Yeah.
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 You do already. Thank God, that's how God designed us. But we need to be more intentional about it. So, common signs of detoxification: headaches, low-grade fevers. You can read all this information. So, homeopathics, herbs, nutrition, lymphatic drainage, lots of things. So, again, IBS, fibromyalgia, thyroid problems, infertility, miscarriages, all the things. So, what kind of detox do you need? Read the list. There's lots of them. What's the best for you? That's what we don't know. Is it a pill, a lotion, a potion? Do you need to sit in an infrared sauna? Do you need to do a foot detox? Do you need to do all the things? I don't know. But yes, you need to detox. Do you need to live in a bubble or live on the moon? Living on the moon. I think it was my son Eli. We were watching something and they're talking about all the space trash from satellites and all kinds of things, and they're like, yeah, they find that they have our man-made chemicals orbiting our Earth in space, like aerosol and jet fuel and all these really toxic things. We're not only polluting our world, we're polluting outer space with our trash, our toxins. It's just ridiculous. So you can't even live on the moon and be safe, apparently. And then toxic emotions. So this is not a detox thing, this is a Jesus thing. Because when you are toxically sick, you don't feel good. Your self-worth goes down tremendously. And sometimes it's not even your fault. It's because you're full of Roundup, you're full of plastic, you're full of all these things. And then society tells you that you suck, and then you get angry, and you have shame, and you obviously, and that is all from the devil. But detoxing these mentally ill people helps them tremendously, because they need to see their value of who they are as a child of God. We're supposed to live with these spiritual gifts: love, joy, peace, forbearance, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. That's who we are. That's who people are on this earth. And we're being poisoned by the man, and this is not a good place. It's just not at all. So I had to put that in there because it's true. Now, what kind of testing can we do? There's lots of tests, but what are the valuable ones? The problem with these tests are sometimes this doesn't tell us if it's a chronic exposure or a recent exposure. But basically, the more things in the red you got, the worse you have been or the worse you are now. So we use a laboratory called Vibrant Labs. They have a toxic panel. This looks at about 230 different toxic elements that should not be in your body. We're all going to have some. No one's going to be clean. But if you have lots of them, that means you are very toxic or you have poor detoxification pathways. So this is a good place to start. If you have uncontrolled diabetes and medication doesn't work for you, these toxins increase oxidative stress. An oxidative stress marker is A1C. It looks at long-term blood sugar, but it also measures free radical damage. That's why it's called an acute phase reactant, along with ferritin, iron, CRP, cedrate, fibrinogen. Those measure one thing, but they're all in the family of acute phase reactants. Toxicity, uncontrolled diabetes that doesn't work with medication, is because these people are toxic, which is driving up all their markers, which causes their brains to shrink, which causes early onset of dementia and Alzheimer's. So we take some people that have uncontrolled bad diabetes, all we do is detox them, and their diabetes almost goes away completely. It's pretty crazy how dramatic of, we had one guy, we lowered his A1C by 4 whole points, doing a 1-month detox. I'm like, your diabetes is completely driven by toxicity. And he worked in manufacturing, so he was just around it, didn't think anything of it. I got diabetes like everybody else does. I'm like, that's bad. No one should have it, especially everybody who is on his line of diabetes. It's because all the chemical you guys are around, but that's not even in the thought process. Yeah, toxins do more, like cause diabetes. Heavy metals. So this test is a blood test. This test is a blood test. So this is what's going to be in your blood. This is not what's stored in your tissues. So this is typically going to be more of a recent exposure to these things. We're all going to have a little bit of heavy metal in recent exposure. It's just the reality of it. So what we can do is we can actually do a chelation challenge. So we give you things like DMSO or glutathione or EDTA to actually pull toxins out of your tissue into your blood to then collect it. So sometimes we do that as well. And if the chelation, they feel horrible with that, like if you feel horrible the day of the procedure, when we draw your blood and do this, we know that you have a huge body burden of toxins. So we know we have to go slow. And Mosaic Labs, used to be called Great Plains Labs, they can measure glyphosate, which is Roundup. And again, this test unfortunately does not look at recent exposure or chronic exposure or abundance of body burden, but this should be low because there are ranges. And you can see there are allowable amounts of it causes cancer or doesn't cause cancer, EPA, National Institutes of Health, it does cause cancer. So we have all these good different government bodies that say different things, and then other countries in the world who say, no way, Jose. So what are you going to do? You can do these things. So everybody's different. We're all biochemically different, but we're all very similar too. So what works for me will work for you. We're really close. So some people are actually too sick to detox, and they should not. We have to get your body well enough to detox. If you're taking medication, have chronic health conditions, the last thing you want to do is a strenuous detox because you're just going to feel horrible. We have to work your way into a detox. So we might just say, hey, can you sweat? No, we need to get you to sweat. It's a very mild way to detox. If you don't have hypoglycemia, which is low blood sugar, fasting is a great way to detox because you turn on something called autophagy. That's when the macrophages, the little Pac-Man in your body, just start going through and cleaning up stuff. They clean up cellular debris, they clean up inflammation, and between 24 and 36 hours, they actually start to detox your cells. So it goes in there and gobbles up the sick cells that have free radical damage caused by toxins and heavy metals. Some people have altered genes, so we have to be very careful how we detox them. We have to give them binders and things to grab onto these toxins before we even start to detox them. So we're trying to gather the low-hanging fruit. But most people can eat a cleaner diet. Most people can try to find some healthy filtered water, because if you don't drink filtered water, you are the filter. Most people can breathe clean air, some people can't. But these are simple things that we can all do just to get some of this junk out of our body that's driving chronic disease at astronomical proportions, and it's not going to get better, it's just going to get worse. I had a slide. It was an awesome slide, but it didn't save. I want to say they were statistics that I took a long time to find, and I couldn't find them again, so I just kind of remember them. 310 million chemicals are used on our globe. 310 million. That's insane. And of the top 350,000, 85% of them have not been studied for human safety. And when you study anything, you have one variable. So I'm going to give you one chemical, and if it doesn't hurt you, it's now safe for all people. But that's not how our world is. We're not exposed to one chemical every day. We're exposed to, I don't know how many chemicals every day. 10, 20, 50, 1,000? Do that research study. You can't do research and have 500 variables, but that's what our world is. So they don't even test them. They just say, hope you're fine, or who cares if you're fine? I don't know. So it's your job to safeguard yourselves, but more importantly, your children. Because their little bodies don't detox as well as big bodies. They have little livers, they have little systems, but yet they're breathing in the same contaminated air, same contaminated water, same contaminated food that we do as big bodies. That's why there's all these pervasive childhood illnesses that just didn't exist even 10 years ago, like at the rate they are right now. It's ridiculous, the amount of infertility and miscarriages and autism and all these things that's coming from our food and from our environment. It's ridiculous. So detoxing is really important. So this detox is not for everybody. Most healthy people who are not taking medication can do this very safely. So we partnered up with Nutridyne, and they're going to give us a 15% discount for the whole month of March. So if you go to the website, I guess you really can't click. I put a link in the Buy Now button, so when you go on Facebook Live, you should be able to click on that button, and we'll have a link below where you can go to our Nutridyne website and order this and follow the instructions. But if you are sick, do not do this. You will feel like crap. If you are sick, you need to reach out to us to help so that I can help you safely do this without wrecking your health. Because if you do it wrong, and for example, if you're an older person and we start pulling lead out of your bones, you could break a hip, literally, because we pulled the lead out of your hip. Which sounds crazy, but it's true. If you're a child, you should not detox using this for sure. We use homeopathic, we use very gentle things to coax and pull things out slowly. I don't take medications, I'm very healthy. I could do this for a year and feel completely fine. So everybody has a different body burden, they're on a different spectrum. They have different genes, so they detox differently. So this is not for everybody, but if it does sound like it's for you, again, you can go to our website and do that. So what's the next step? So you can purchase the 28 detox, the 28-day detox through Nutridyne. Most people also lose weight because, again, when we have those fat soluble toxins stuck in our body fat, we can't lose weight. So some people that do have that, they lose a lot of weight on these detox programs. Some people don't. Some people lose very little weight. Some people lose. I had a guy who lost 30 pounds. I'm like, holy cow. I'm like, you were super toxic, dude. And he felt fine. He didn't feel poor. He's like, I've never been able to lose my belly fat. I'm like, it's because your fat's toxic. And he kind of looked at me funny. I explained to him. He's like, well, that's probably true. It was true. He lost 30 pounds in 30 days. Doing nothing but taking some pills and drinking some shakes. That's pretty simple. And some people, especially women, lose like 2 or 3 pounds sometimes. Because you're much more hormonal driven than we are. We just need lots of testosterone, a little bit of everything else. You guys have to have the right symphony at the right time of the month, every single month. So it's tougher to be you. And if you think you want to detox, but you're not sure how to do it, you can set up consultations with us, and I can help kind of walk you through this. And we treat people all over the country, so you don't have to be here in Cincinnati for us to treat you. So if you guys in this room have family members you want to share this video with, it'll be on our Facebook page by the end of the week, if not sooner. Share this with them. We can work with them. We were using Zoom before it was cool. Like 5 or 10, like probably about 8 years ago, we started using Zoom for this. So I wish we'd about stock back then, not thinking the pandemic would happen and how Zoom stock's like killing it right now. So we've been doing telemedicine for a long time, so we kind of have that now. So if you have friends or family who live in the country, even out of the country, I'm happy to talk to them. We can order labs on anybody throughout the country as well. We can send them test kits. We can send them to LabCorp to kind of know where they are, know where their body burden is, know if detoxing now is for them or later is for them too. And go to our YouTube channel, like us on Facebook, and that's us. Any questions? I know I've just said lots of words. And you're probably pissed off at me, I'm sorry.
How helpful are plants in the home? Don't they help
Yeah.
kind of purify the air?
They do, yeah. Yeah, house plants, especially the block, those kind.
Mm-hmm.
What are pothos, yeah. That's why we have plants in every single room in our office. Yeah, they actually do. And they convert our carbon dioxide into oxygen. They filter it. So does all the algae in the ocean. Yeah, more plants are better. My wife would disagree with that, but I like plants.
So you can test for anything, including like the MTHFR gene mutation stuff.
Yep, do a blood test.
And you can go, does the age matter? I have some young kids and someone we had some blood work done and it's coming back with different things like low ferritin and different stuff. So we're trying to figure out.
Yeah, if we kind of know what your and your husband's is, we can kind of assume what theirs are too. So if you have MTHFR, they do.
Okay.
What variant? That's what we don't know. Do they have, if you both have one, they probably have 2.
Okay.
If you both have 2, they're going to be sick.
Okay.
Because they detox poor. So what does that mean? We have to intentionally support methylation because they're not going to be able to do it.
Okay.
And as long as we do that, they'll be fine forever. But if we don't do that, they get chronic diseases at 20 because their body just has no defense against all the junk in our world.
Okay.
So it's not like it's oh my gosh, it's just support it and they'll be fine. So MTHFR, methyl tetrahydrofolate, your body cannot convert B12 and folic acid into methyl B12 and methyl folic acid because you're lacking the enzyme. So we just gave it to you in the broken down form, and that's all it is. So when this kind of was a big deal 10 years ago, methyl Bs were all the craze. I'm like, it's not that big a deal. Like, you can't do this, so we just give it to you here, and it's over. That's basically it. Now, you can't just look at that by yourself. There's 18 MTHFR genes. We look at 2 of them that are most clinically significant, but you have to look at these 17 other gene SNPs to know how significant this one is. Sometimes just knowing one gene's not really important, but knowing what the family of genes do, that's what's important. Methylation is kind of like your housekeeping genes. Some people have poor housekeeping genes. They be very intentional about methylating, and if they don't, their body's going to bioaccumulate things that if you don't have the same gene mutation, you don't have to even consider. So yeah, and that's where my expertise as a functional medicine doctor comes into play of who needs to do what and when and how. And if you can't tolerate it, why? And what's the workaround for that? Is it just slower, longer? For some people it's yes, and some people it's like, we're gonna put that back on the shelf for 6 months, we're gonna fix these other mechanisms first so you can tolerate the detox later. So this is what's fun for me, to do science. Okay. All right, well, thanks for your attention tonight. We have some samples of the shakes over here. Shake them up if you want to try some. If you have any questions, let me know.